Hi guys, this is Michael and I want to show you something new today. So lean back, make yourself comfortable and grab a pencil to make some notes. Once upon a time there were the old masters, and oil colors could not be bought in a shop or even online. Can you believe there was a time before online? Some of them even had to make their own oil colors. So they had quite a different approach to oil painting, and this is something that we can adapt for today as well, which has, well, some advantages. And this method I want to show you in a very light version, which you can try at home and perhaps you like it. So let's start. The method I'm going to show you is called glazing, and the good thing is that you do not have to care so much about the values when you actually grab your color oil paints. And how it works? You, as normal, decide for the topic, the theme that you want to paint, and you just grab your white and your black oil colors. The very same method can of course also be applied for acrylic paintings. I just stick to the oil painting as this is an oil painting, but if you go for acrylics, feel free to use the same method, it works quite similar. But of course, when you work in acrylics, you do not use the liquid. For creating a glaze in acrylics, you just need to add some more water to the acrylic paint to make it thinner and more translucent. If you prefer using a medium, there is something like matte medium, which is used for acrylics, which in a way creates the same effect that you achieve with the liquid for oil colors. It just makes your pigments a bit thinner and more translucent, and so this is the go-to way for the acrylics, but just regular water will be fine for you as well. In case you want to combine both methods, you can also make the underpainting or first layer in acrylics and then glazed over with the oil color version. But never ever do the oil color underpainting and glaze over with acrylics, because you should never use any water-based colors on top of any oil-based colors. Having all of this in mind, we now return to our painting. By doing so, you actually just paint the picture as you would paint it if you would do a black and white picture. Make sure that you have all the values correct so that your darks are as dark as you need them to be and that your highlights are as light as you need them to be. You could add as much detail as you like at this point, but there is no need to put every little tiny detail in it already, as this might not be visible in the end anyways. I have also used some liquid to thin my paints down and to make the drying time a bit shorter, so it dries quicker. And in addition, it is also easier to get the color onto the canvas a bit quicker. As this is only a small study, I just taped some canvas on an MDF board, so I have a small mini canvas which is I think 15 by 15 centimeters, as for demonstration purpose only. In a way, painting this, let's call it underlayer, is actually quite the same thing as you do for any other oil painting, if you do this. And this is the underpainting, which is normally done in a grayish or brownish reddish tone, just to make the basic sketch onto the canvas, which is painted over once the underlayer is dry. So this in a way feels quite the same. And as a plus, this underlayer lays down much quicker than it would be the case if you paint with colored oil colors directly. The base layer, which you can see here, took me in real time about 15 minutes. I could have spent more time of course, but this is just for demonstration and it was fine. If you paint something more complex, like a face or landscape or whatever you have in mind, you of course will need a bit more time to complete the first layer and to have the values correct as you need them to be. But still, it is something really nice to try if you have not tried already. Once you have completed this first layer, you need to let it dry completely. If you do not let it dry completely and go over with the oil colors right ahead, you will get a muddy and ugly look. So let it dry completely, this is important. As I have added the liquid to my colors, it only took about a couple of hours. This again depends on the place where you put your painting. It was a sunny day, so I put my painting in the sun, and so it dried quite quickly. It is no problem to put it in the sun as it's only a base layer. I would not really recommend letting it dry if you have the piece completed to the end, as well you should never place any artwork in direct sunlight for a longer time. So once you have completed your artwork, let it dry in your flat, in your studio, wherever you work, in normal conditions. So no direct sunlight unless you have a UV protected windows, then it's okay. But I would recommend you let it dry naturally. Next step, and the fun part, is to add the colors. And as you can see on my mini palette, this is just a red, a green, a yellow, and an orange kind of tone, as well as a brown. And in case you wonder about my palette, this is just a small glass frame, actually, which I bought on a local craft store for €1.50 or so. It's what was quite cheap, and I really like using glass as a palette. And to make the colors more visible, I put a grayish paper just underneath the glass, and this makes it easier to judge the colors. So it even works better than having a white paper underneath. So test it yourself. I find it quite nice. And the good thing is, once you're done, you can just use your palette knife and scrape the colors away. Even if the colors are dried completely, you can use the palette knife to remove any color that is on the glass. And it's quite easy and simple, and it works way better than any of these plastic palettes that you can get. The translucent blob in the middle of my palette is the liquid. If you do not know what liquid is, this is a medium from Winsor & Newton, which allows you to thin your paints and also reduces the drying time of the oil colors. It is a bit thinner than the regular oil colors are, but still holds its structure very well. So it's not runny or something. And you can just use it to thin your paints or to mix your paints to make it a bit more fluid on the canvas. And you can also use it to make your paints a bit more translucent. So if you want to do a glaze, as we do want to do here. And therefore I just mixed some of my oil color with the liquid to make it quite thin, and put this thin coat of oil color over the already painted underpainting. And this in a way tints the color. The higher the oil color ratio in your mix between your liquid and the oil color is, the more opaque your layer will become. If you take more liquid, your oil color will be a bit thinner and more translucent. So you can play a bit around until you have the correct consistency that you want to have. And then you simply glaze over your painting. Put the colors that you want to use at the places that you want to use, and you don't need to worry that you have to put all the colors that you want to use at once. There are different ways to approach this. So if you like to use just one color at a time, you can just start by using the reds. Or just paint the background in the color that you want to have the background in. And let it dry again. If you want to go with more than one color, you can just put all the colors on your canvas that you want to use. As you have thinned down your paint with the liquid, you will not have complete coverage, of course, so you will still see some of the underpainting through. But the nice thing is, at these areas where the underpainting was very dark or very light, you will already have the contrasts by adding the color. So you don't need to worry about how to get your reds as dark as you need them, or how can you make the yellow as bright as you want to have. This is automatically done by the underpainting. Once you have the one color or all the colors that you wanted to have on your canvas, you need to let it dry again. This again, thanks to liquid, does not really take that long. And it also depends on how thick you're going to make your layers. So if you really put big blobs of paint onto your painting, to make it a bit more impressionistic or abstract, whatever you want to achieve, this of course might take longer. Although the liquid is added, it will take longer as the paint mixture itself is thicker, of course. I only go for very light layers as I'm impatient and I don't want to wait ages until something is dry. So it took me only about a couple of hours, and I put it into the sun again just to quicken this up. And actually this is the process that is repeated over and over and over again until you have the color saturation that you want to achieve. You can also intermix your colors directly on the canvas or on your palette, whatever you prefer doing. And if you feel that you need some more contrast at a certain area, you can of course also mix your color on your palette that you have the correct value that you want to have. So you can darken your original red paint, or you can add some white to make your yellow more vibrant, or whatever you think is useful for a certain area. Which I also did for the yellow and the highlights of the apple, for example. And the more often you repeat this process, actually, the more realistic everything is going to look. And if you create a layer that you think does not really look as you intended to, because you made a strange color, or it does not look correct or the shadows are a bit off, whatever might have happened, no worries, just let it dry and go over it with the next layer and fix the things that you think needs to be fixed. Another advantage to keep in mind, the more layers you actually paint for a piece, the more depth you're going to achieve. This is because when the light is going through the oil paint layers, for each layer that you're going to paint, the light breaks and refracts a bit differently. So it is rejected to your eye in a different way than it would be if you have only one coat of oil color. And as this is the case, you will achieve a higher depth in your painting. After a bit more of an hour of actually real painting time, I called my painting done. I of course could have added more layers and did some more stuff to it, added more highlights or changed the values or added more details, whatever can be done. But this was just again for demonstration. I have not tried this for portrait so far. I'm quite sure I will try this. I really liked the look that it had, and I found it also a bit easier and faster as the underpainting in black and white is naturally done a bit quicker than if you had to consider any color value change, especially for skin tones. And the end result had quite a nice old look, I would say. It looks a bit different than if I would have painted it with the colored oil colors directly, I think. Not sure, but I think. But I really liked the colors that I achieved with this piece. And during the painting process of this little tiny piece, I thought about I should learn more about the technique that the old masters used, just to know them. I'm not really sure if I want to apply them for my own artwork or studies, but it is quite interesting. And if they found it useful as well, why not at least know something about it? So this is something I will check out for myself in the future, and if you find this video interesting, just let me know, just to see if you want to see more of this, and if so, I will be happy to share the complete master's technique with you, once I know it for myself, I guess. But yeah, I would be happy to hear what you think about it, if you of course liked it, if you found it useful, which I hope, or if you have any questions. If so, just leave me in the comments below as well. And as usual, I hope you liked my video. Give me a thumbs up if you do, and subscribe to my channel if you have not yet so far. And until then, I wish you a great day. Bye bye.